Good afternoon, ladies, and welcome to Far Above Rubies. I'm so glad that each of you are here. Welcome to the month of March. We are diving into miracles in the Bible. Every single day this month, you are going to hear about a miracle, an impossibility that became reality in the scriptures. And so, appropriately, I'm going to start with the miracle of creation. And your reading challenge is going to be Genesis chapter 1, and I'm going to add Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 7, okay? So it's a lot of reading, but it's excellent. It's great to refresh your memory, even if you've read this 100 times, okay? Now, many of us don't consider necessarily creation as a miracle. Of course, we know that it is, but whenever we're listing miracles in the Bible, when we're listing things that prophets did and the hand of God reached down and did, we don't always list creation, now do we? The first couple of verses here are most important to me. This tells us that in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and that the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, okay? Now, I want you to think about your life. I want you to think about where you find yourself right now. Many of you, maybe you're not going through anything at all, but I know with the size of this group that there are many, many in this group who would say that they're going through a season of darkness. They're going through a season where they can't see the next step, where they can't see or understand where God is taking them because their situation is without form, it's void, it's lacking, it is without plan, without a next step, without future, without insight, without vision. But that's not where this miracle stops. Not God created the heaven and the earth, and then the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. No, it then says, and the Spirit of God moved upon the waters. The Spirit of God moved. The original translation here tells us, it says, the Spirit of God fluttered. And I like that word. The Spirit of God fluttered. I kind of picture the Spirit of God dancing through the darkness. Why? Why do I like that image? Because it tells me that God was in control. There was darkness, but God was in control in the middle of that darkness. God was not consumed by this darkness. He was not intimidated by this darkness. He didn't say, oh, it's full of darkness. There's nothing here. What am I going to do? No, there was full of darkness in this situation, and God was dancing because he had a plan. God doesn't ever do anything without a plan. If you're going through a season of darkness in your life, if you're going through a season where you can't see the next step, you can't see your hand in front of your face because it's just that dark in your life right now, you need to know that God is dancing in the middle of your darkness because he's waiting for just the right moment to open his mouth and speak life. He is waiting for just the right moment to begin creating, to begin producing in your life, to begin allowing miracles to flow. If you're in a dark season, you just hang on, sweet sister, because God is dancing in the middle of your darkness because he is not intimidated by your darkness. He is not overwhelmed by your darkness. He is not surprised by your darkness, okay? There's a scripture in Psalms I love. It is so close to my heart. It says, if I should say, even the night shall cover me, then even the night shall be as the day, okay? It's saying, if I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be as the day. I'm tongue-tied. And I love that because it's saying that darkness and light are both alike to God. He doesn't get night blind. God has perfect vision. God has perfect vision. And he is dancing in the middle of your darkness, waiting for that perfect moment to begin creating miracles in your life. Now, the reason I added those few verses from chapter 2 is this. The last thing that God creates in creation, in our story of creation, the last thing that he creates is not just man, but intimacy. God created intimacy when he didn't just speak into existence man and woman. He reached down, and the scripture says he formed man of the dust of the ground, and he breathed the breath of life into him. This was a intimate, personal act. God reached down his hand. God breathed his breath in an act of intimacy between him and his creation. with the animals, with all the things that affected Adam's life, with all the things that would touch and shape Adam's life. He spoke into existence. He spoke life. But when it came to Adam himself, when it came to Adam's heart, when it came to Adam's spirit, just speaking was not enough. God wanted to create intimacy. He has that intimacy waiting for you. If you haven't sought that out with him, I encourage you to read these scriptures. I encourage you to seek out the intimacy that he created you for. The one-on-one personal knowledge, personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Go and read Genesis chapter 1 through Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. And if no one has told you lately, you are loved and you are cherished. You are valuable. You are so valuable that God himself reached down and formed you. Another scripture says he formed you in your mother's womb. He is a God of personal relationship, personal intimacy, and he values you. You have worth, my friend, and that worth is far above rubies. I love you all. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow.